Beloved chosen one, listen closely. This message may be difficult for you to believe, but it has found you for a reason. You have not stumbled here by coincidence. Heaven has been whispering your name for longer than you realize. And tonight, the whisper turns into a call. You are not like the rest. You have felt it since you were young. The quiet pull towards something greater, something unseen yet undeniable. You have been marked, not by chance, but by divine intention. Every moment of doubt, every tear you hid in silence, every time you wondered why you never seemed to belong. These were not signs of rejection. They were evidence that your spirit was never meant to blend in with this world. The ache in your soul was heaven's fingerprint, pressing you toward remembrance. Even now, as you read this, the air around you shifts, because heaven is leaning close. The message that unfolds before you is not entertainment, it is revelation. You are standing in a divine intersection, and the choices you make from this moment forward will determine whether you step into destiny or drift back into distraction. Feel that weight in your chest, that trembling inside your spirit. It is not fear, it is awakening. For years, the world has tried to silence that inner knowing. Society told you to fit in, to stay quiet, to suppress the fire within. But that fire refuses to die. It has burned through heartbreak, through abandonment, through storms that should have destroyed you. And now it glows hotter than ever. That flame inside you is the mark of the chosen. Do you remember the times you almost gave up? The nights when you whispered, God, if you're real, show me. This is that answer. Heaven heard you. The silence was never absence. While you were questioning your worth, heaven was fortifying your spirit for a purpose too great to comprehend. The reason it's hard to believe this message is because your mind remembers what your soul already knows. You've walked through seasons that made no sense. Friends turned into strangers. Doors that should have opened slammed shut. You wondered if you were cursed, but you were not being punished. You were being preserved. You were hidden for a holy reason. The delay was not denial. It was divine timing. The storm was not meant to break you, but to cleanse you. The pain was never random. It was the language of transformation. Chosen one. The reason the warfare has been so intense is because the assignment attached to your name terrifies darkness. You carry a light that can expose deception, a word that can break chains, a presence that shifts atmospheres. You are a spiritual disruptor, and that is why you have been under attack. The enemy saw your potential before you did. That's why you faced battles others didn't have to fight. Because you were born for victory they could never carry. Even now, your heart might wrestle with disbelief. Could I really be chosen? Yes. The very fact that you question it is proof of your humility, and humility is heaven's favorite soil for miracles. Stop underestimating what God can do through you. You are not too broken. You are not too late. You are not disqualified. The world may have counted you out, but heaven has already counted you in. Feel this truth rise within you. Every delay, every heartbreak, every unanswered prayer has been rearranging the pieces of your destiny. You were never forgotten. You were being positioned. Heaven has not changed its mind about you. The same God who whispered your purpose before you were born is still calling your name tonight. You are being summoned into alignment with the reason you exist. Lift your eyes, chosen one. Look beyond the noise, beyond the wounds, beyond the confusion. There is more for you. More strength, more clarity, more purpose. The same power that raised Christ from the dead dwells in you. You were not born to simply survive. You were created to reveal God's glory through your very existence, as Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 14. For many are called, but few are chosen. Now is the moment to stop doubting that you are part of the few. Heaven is confirming it through every word you read. This is not coincident intervention. If your spirit is trembling, that's the sign. You are hearing heaven correctly. You are chosen for this generation. Before you scroll away, pause. Let your spirit respond. Type the number 777 in the comments as a prophetic act of agreement. It is the number of divine completion and spiritual perfection. Then, if this message stirred something deep within you, like, share, and subscribe so that the next message from heaven can reach you right on time. This is your moment of recognition. This is your awakening. You begin to notice it, the pull of destiny. It's subtle at first, like a quiet hum beneath the noise of everyday life. You can't explain it to anyone, not even to yourself. It's not just intuition, not mere coincidence. It's divine orchestration. Suddenly, the ordinary starts to shimmer with meaning. Numbers repeat. Songs seem to speak directly to your soul. Strangers say things that pierce through your confusion as if they were sent by heaven itself. You realize that the supernatural has been woven into the natural all along, and your eyes are only now opening to see it. You wake up one morning and sense that something unseen is shifting. You can't prove it, yet you know it. It's as though heaven is trying to get your attention, tapping gently on the walls of your heart. Every delay that once frustrated you now begins to make sense. Every heartbreak becomes part of a sacred pattern. Every disappointment becomes a door in disguise. The divine does not shout, it whispers. It hides messages in moments that others overlook. That sudden feeling that you are meant for more. That is not pride. That is remembrance. You are remembering who you truly are and who sent you here. You have walked through many seasons, swearing that God was silent. But silence is not the absence of God. It is often the preparation for revelation. When heaven is preparing a message too large for your understanding, it first calms the noise around you so that you can hear the whisper of your destiny. And now, in this very moment, that whisper grows louder. Chosen one. The pull you feel is not just a feeling. It's a summons, a divine signal that the time has come for you to rise into alignment with your original design. You are not a mistake. You are not lost. You are being guided by a hand that never left you, though you didn't always sense its presence. Every delay, every detour, every loss, it was all written into the script of your becoming. It's difficult to explain this to others. They don't understand why you've started to separate yourself, why you crave silence, why certain environments no longer feel right. They don't know that heaven has begun to rearrange your life from the inside out. People who were never meant to walk into your next season are quietly being released. You are being pruned, not punished. It's like the caterpillar's moment in the cocoon, still, dark, and silent. From the outside, nothing seems to be happening, yet inside, everything is being transformed. That's what's happening within you. Heaven is transforming what once felt broken into something glorious. The pull of destiny is not comfortable, but it is holy. You might look back and wonder why certain things had to happen, why some doors never opened, why people you trusted walked away. The answer lies in your calling. Had those doors opened, you would have settled for less. Had those people stayed, you might have followed their plans instead of God's. Sometimes divine protection feels like loss, but it is love in disguise. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, and his words still echo across time. Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Think about that for a moment. Before you were even aware of yourself. Heaven already had a plan for your existence. Before your first cry, before your first heartbreak, before your first mistake, your name was already written in the language of eternity. You were seen, known, and destined. Every cell in your body carries a code of divine assignment. That's why you've always felt different. That's why normalcy never satisfied you. You were born to disrupt the patterns of darkness and bring light into places that forgot what hope felt like. You may not have the full picture yet, and that's all right. The Creator does not reveal the entire map, only the next step. Destiny unfolds progressively, one act of obedience at a time. When you say yes in the small things, heaven entrusts you with the greater. Your task now is not to understand everything, but to remain open, available, and faithful. The pull of destiny will continue to intensify. The more you yield, the more heaven aligns the circumstances around you. Doors that were once closed will open without force. Opportunities that seemed impossible will emerge from nowhere. Even the timing of your life will begin to feel synchronized with something divine. You will know when to move, when to rest, and when to speak. Not by logic, but by inner knowing. Chosen one, you are being guided into the divine flow. This is not fantasy, it is fulfillment. The patterns you are noticing are signs of divine conversation. Heaven has chosen this time, this moment, this message to remind you your destiny is calling, and it will not wait forever. Step into the rhythm of heaven's timing. Trust the pull, even when it disrupts your comfort. Because where God is taking you next requires separation, faith, and surrender. You were never meant to understand everything, only to believe. And belief is the key that unlocks destiny. The more you trust, the clearer the path becomes. Listen closely to that pull within. It is heaven's hand guiding your steps toward purpose. You have always known you were different. From childhood, you saw the world through a lens that others could not understand. You noticed details others ignored. You felt emotions others dismissed. You carried empathy so deep it became both a gift and a burden. You were never meant to blend in because you were marked by heaven for something greater. The world called you too sensitive, too intense, too much. But God called you set apart. Every time you tried to conform, something within you resisted. That inner conflict was not rebellion. It was recognition. Your spirit knew that mediocrity would suffocate your purpose. The unease you feel around certain people or places is heaven's alarm, reminding you that your soul cannot thrive in counterfeit environments. There were seasons when you tried to silence your difference. You played small so others would feel comfortable. You dimmed your light so no one would feel overshadowed. You pretended not to care when your heart was breaking inside. But chosen one, heaven saw every tear you buried beneath your smile, every silent prayer, every moment you wondered, why can't I just be normal? The truth is, you were never meant to be. Normal is for those without calling, and calling always carries a cost. You were forged in loneliness so you could stand alone when the time came. You were misunderstood so that your validation would come from God, not people. You were hidden because the world was not ready for your unveiling. You may have thought the isolation was punishment, but it was actually preservation. Like Joseph in the pit, like David in the field, you were separated so you could be prepared. Heaven used rejection as redirection. Every closed door was protecting you from counterfeit opportunities that would have derailed your destiny. Look back for a moment. Remember every person who left, every job that didn't work out, every friendship that faded. Each one was a pruning, and pruning always precedes blooming. What you lost in numbers, you gained in purity of purpose. The fewer who understand you, the clearer your mission becomes. There's something sacred about being different. It means you carry what others can't. You see what others miss. You hear the whispers of heaven while others chase the noise of the world. You walk through spiritual deserts so you can lead others to living water. You endure storms so you can speak peace into someone else's chaos. Your life has been the training ground for your ministry. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old, Romans chapter 12, verse 2, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed." Those words are not a suggestion. They are a divine command. To be chosen is to be transformed continually. Your difference is your signal. The discomfort you feel when surrounded by darkness is your confirmation that you were designed to bring light. You are not here to fit in. You are here to shift atmospheres. The enemy has tried to convince you that your uniqueness is weakness. But heaven says otherwise. The very thing that made you an outsider will one day make you a leader. The very pain that made you quiet will soon give power to your voice. The very places you were rejected will become the platforms from which you release revelation. Chosen one, you are not behind schedule. You are in divine timing. The process may feel slow, but it is sacred. Heaven is refining you in secret so that when your moment comes, your foundation will be unshakable. The loneliness you've endured has built the kind of strength that applause can't produce. You are learning to be content in God's company, and that is where all true power begins. Soon, people will wonder how you carried so much grace after all the pain. They will ask where your peace came from. And you will smile, knowing that your difference was never a curse. It was a crown. The ones who mocked you will have no choice but to witness the glory that comes from obedience. This is not the time to shrink back. Your uniqueness is your weapon. Your authenticity is your armor. Don't dilute yourself to be accepted. Don't trade your light for belonging. The world doesn't need another imitation. It needs your originality, your voice, your anointing. The frequency of heaven flows through your difference. Take a breath. Feel the truth settle in your spirit. You are not broken. You are built differently. You are not too much. You are exactly enough. You are not behind. You are right where heaven needs you to be. Now, chosen one, let your soul respond. Type, "I am different" in the comments, not as an act of pride, but as a prophetic declaration. When you write it, you are aligning with heaven's design over your life. You are saying, "I accept who God made me to be. I will no longer hide." Let those 3 words be your agreement with destiny. You are the light in a dim world, the proof that God still places fire in fragile vessels. Stand tall in your difference. It is your divine distinction. When the world turns cold, you feel it first. The chill of distance from people who once stood close, the sudden silence where laughter used to live, the look of misunderstanding in eyes that used to see you clearly. The chosen always know this season well, the season of being misread, abandoned, or betrayed. It is not because you did something wrong. It is because your spirit outgrew the environment that once held you. You have walked through moments when your kindness was mistaken for weakness. You poured love into people who later forgot your name. You gave without measure, and still they left without warning. The pain of that departure carved something deep inside, yet that ache was not meant to destroy. It was meant to refine. The love that once bled through wounds will one day flow as healing for others. Rejection is one of heaven's most misunderstood gifts. It feels cruel at first, like being thrown into darkness. But rejection often signals redirection. The doors that close before you are heaven's way of saying, "This is not your home anymore." When you belong to God, He will never allow you to settle where your purpose cannot breathe. At times, it seems the world grows colder with every sunrise. People value convenience over connection, attention over affection. You stand in a crowd, yet feel unseen. You speak truth, yet are met with silence. But this isolation is not the end. It's the beginning of divine intimacy. Heaven often removes the noise of the crowd so you can learn to recognize the voice of the shepherd. Chosen one, understand this. Your difference makes people uncomfortable. When your light shines too brightly, It exposes the shadows around them. They react not because of who you are, but because of what you carry. Darkness recognizes light before people do. And when your presence unsettles others, it's because your anointing reminds their spirits of what they've forgotten: truth. Do not allow bitterness to build walls around your heart. The temptation to harden yourself is strong after betrayal, but your softness is sacred. Your compassion is not weakness, it's your weapon. The world may turn cold, but you must remain warm. You cannot fight darkness with darkness. You overcome it with light. There is a story written into every wound you've endured. Each scar on your heart holds evidence that you survived what was meant to silence you. Every tear that fell in private watered seeds of resilience. You didn't break under pressure. You were reshaped by it. The very pain that tried to destroy you became the proof that you were built for endurance. Sometimes, God allows certain people to walk away because they cannot breathe the altitude of your next assignment. You are climbing higher, and not everyone can go where you're headed. They may call you cold for letting go, but in truth, you are simply obeying heaven's command to release what no longer aligns. This is not cruelty. It is clarity. It hurts to lose what was once familiar, but remember, what feels like loss is often protection. God removes people, opportunities, and attachments that would compromise your calling. It is mercy disguised as separation. When the world grows cold, heaven draws closer. That is the paradox of the chosen life. The voice of the Son of God spoke in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 18. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. These words are not meant to discourage you. They are meant to anchor you. They remind you that being misunderstood is part of carrying divine truth. The world has always resisted light, yet light never stops shining. The same fire that draws some will repel others. Do not apologize for being who you were created to be. Even when friends fade and opportunities vanish, your value does not decrease. Rejection cannot rewrite your identity. You are chosen not because of popularity, but because of purpose. Heaven's approval outweighs the applause of men. This coldness you feel around you, it is simply the atmosphere shifting. God is clearing the fog, separating the genuine from the false, and teaching you how to discern who truly walks with you. Some will only understand your worth when they see what God does through you. Until then, walk with grace. Forgive freely, love deeply, and remember, the same God who allowed the distance will bring divine connections in their appointed time. So, when the world turns cold, do not retreat in fear. Wrap yourself in the warmth of divine presence. Keep your heart soft, your faith steady, your vision clear. The frost of rejection cannot freeze what heaven has ignited within you. You are not alone. The Creator walks beside you in every silent room, whispering reminders that you are seen, known, and loved beyond measure. Let that truth steady you as you walk through this season of solitude, for it is not the end of your story. It is the preparation for resurrection. There is a voice that calls to you in the silence, soft yet unmistakable. It doesn't shout above the noise of the world. It waits, patient and gentle, whispering to your soul in the stillness of your heart. It calls you by name, not the one others gave you, but the name heaven wrote before your birth. That voice is not imagination. It is divine remembrance. When the world grows loud, when your thoughts become heavy, when the noise of fear drowns out the melody of faith, that is when the voice speaks most clearly. It doesn't command, it invites. It doesn't pressure, it reminds. And when it speaks, something deep within you stands at attention. You recognize it instantly, though you may not have known its sound before. It is the same voice that guided Moses through the wilderness, that comforted Elijah in the cave, that whispered to Samuel in night. It is the voice of the one who has never left you. In your quietest moments, you've heard it. A phrase, a feeling, a warmth that settles in your chest like a sunrise. The world may call it intuition, but your spirit knows better. It is instruction. It is direction. It is love disguised as guidance. You may have asked, God, why can't you speak louder? But heaven's voice does not compete with chaos. It requires stillness. The whisper comes when your heart is uncluttered, when you lay down your burdens and listen. Not with your ears, but with your spirit. The divine frequency is not found in storms, but in surrender. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalm chapter 46, verse 10, "Be still, and know that I am God." Those ancient words carry the secret of intimacy. To be still is not to do nothing. It is to allow the eternal to breathe through you. It is to stop striving and start trusting. In stillness, heaven reveals what hurry hides. Imagine the ocean for a moment. When the waves rage, the surface distorts the reflection of the sky. But when the waters grow calm, the heavens appear perfectly upon them. So it is with your soul. When the storms of fear subside, you reflect divine clarity. That is why silence is sacred. It turns you into a mirror of heaven's peace. Chosen one, that voice is not distant. It is not reserved for saints or prophets of old. It is for you. Today, right where you are, when your mind quiets, when your heart opens, the whisper comes. It might not sound like words. Sometimes it feels like knowing. Sometimes it looks like sudden peace in a situation that once terrified you. Sometimes it's the courage to move forward when logic says stay still. However it manifests, it always carries the same essence. Love, not fear. Peace, not confusion. Purpose, not despair. You've been searching for external confirmation, waiting for a sign in the sky, when heaven has been speaking from within you all along. The divine voice doesn't always direct with grand gestures. Often it comes as a gentle nudge, a thought to reach out, a feeling to forgive, a moment of clarity to step forward. The whisper will never lead you into pride or destruction. It will always guide you toward peace and obedience. But hearing requires willingness. To listen to heaven is to turn down the volume of distraction. It may mean stepping away from chaos, unplugging for a while and giving your attention back to the eternal. You can't hear a whisper in a storm unless you calm the waters inside you first. As you begin to listen more deeply, you will find that the voice doesn't only comfort, it instructs, it gives strategy, it exposes deception, it warns you before danger comes, it shows you the next step, even if it reveals only one at a time. That is how trust is built, one whisper, one act of obedience, one revelation at a time. And now, if this message resonates in your soul, take a moment, not out of obligation, but as an act of alignment. When you like, you help the light reach further. When you share, you allow another soul to hear what heaven is saying. When you subscribe, you stay connected to the flow of divine messages that are shaping hearts all over the world. And if you ever feel led to donate, know that your offering is not just support, it is seed. Every seed sown into this mission becomes a ripple that reaches unseen shores. Think of it like pouring oil into a lamp. You may not see how far the light travels, but somewhere, someone sitting in darkness will see because you chose to keep the flame alive. Your generosity fuels more than content. It fuels connection, transformation, and hope. So, as you sit in your own stillness tonight, let that whisper echo once more. You are not forgotten. You are being guided, and as you listen, may peace settle over you like dawn breaking after a long night. The voice that spoke light into existence is still speaking to you, through you, and for you. All you must do is be still long enough to hear. There is a battle that no one else can see, a war that doesn't happen on battlefields or in open skies, but inside your own soul. It begins quietly, with doubt whispering at the edges of your faith. You start to question your worth, your calling, your direction. Darkness knows it cannot destroy what God has placed within you, so it tries instead to convince you that it was never there. You've felt this war before. The moments when your thoughts turn against you, when your heart feels heavy though nothing visible has changed. The enemy of your soul is subtle. It doesn't come with horns and flames. It comes disguised as your own voice, speaking fear, shame, and disbelief. It says you're not enough. It says you've failed too many times. But those words are not yours. They are lies meant to drown out heaven's truth. The truth is that light and darkness are both fighting for the same space, your mind. Every thought is a seed. What you nurture grows. The battle within is not about circumstances. It's about allegiance. Will you believe what God has said, or will you surrender to the noise of deception? The longer you walk with heaven, the sharper this battle becomes. It's not punishment, it's promotion. You are moving to higher levels of awareness, and each level comes with a new resistance. The deeper your light, the more fiercely darkness reacts. But chosen one, do not fear. Darkness only fights what it fears. Sometimes, the enemy uses memory as a weapon. He brings back your failures, your regrets, the things you wish you could undo. He shows you images of your past to convince you that you are still there. But listen carefully. You are not the person you were. You are the one who survived. You are the one who learned. You are the one who rose. Heaven does not measure you by your history. It measures you by your healing. The ancient words recorded in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 5. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. That verse is not just about creation. It's about you. You are that light. Every time you choose forgiveness over bitterness, love over revenge, faith over fear, the light within you grows stronger. The enemy cannot extinguish what heaven has ignited. You've probably wondered why your emotions fluctuate so deeply. Why one moment you feel unstoppable, and the next you feel invisible. It's because the war is spiritual. Your spirit senses what your eyes cannot see. The atmosphere around you shifts when you pray, when you worship, when you choose integrity over compromise. Darkness trembles every time you say, "I still believe." You carry light that terrifies the unseen. You might think you're just surviving another day, but in the spiritual realm, every time you refuse to quit, you are shaking kingdoms of darkness. The attacks you've endured are not proof of your weakness. They are confirmation of your power. If you were not dangerous to darkness, you would not be targeted by it. There is a reason the world tries to keep you distracted. The enemy's goal is not destruction, it's disconnection. He wants you too busy, too tired, too numb to notice the voice of God within you. Because if you ever fully realized who you are, nothing could stop you. That's why the battle within feels endless. It's proof that you are on the edge of breakthrough. In your weakest moment, heaven fights beside you. When you whisper prayers that barely leave your lips, angels move. You may not see it, but all of heaven takes notice when you choose faith instead of despair. The unseen army that surrounds you does not waver. You are not alone in this fight. You are backed by eternity. Chosen one, understand this. Spiritual warfare is not meant to scare you. It's meant to awaken you. You are a soldier of light, equipped with divine authority. Your weapons are not made of steel, but of spirit. Faith, truth, love, and perseverance. Every time you declare truth, every time you stand your ground, you win ground for the kingdom. The voice of fear may still whisper, but you no longer have to listen. You have authority to silence it. Speak peace where anxiety tries to live. Declare light where shadows linger. Command calm in the chaos. You are not a victim of the battle. You are a victor carrying the banner of heaven. Now, As you take this in, let your spirit respond. If you can feel that this message is for you, if something deep inside you stirs as you read these words, then pause for a moment. Type 888 in the comments. That number symbolizes new beginnings and divine order. When you write it, you are declaring that you refuse to live in fear. You are saying, "My battle will not break me, it will build me." Remember this, the war within you is proof of the greatness upon you. And no matter how fierce the darkness becomes, it can never overcome the light that burns inside your soul. There are moments when it feels as though your entire life is burning down around you. Relationships dissolve, plans crumble, prayers seem unanswered, and you wonder if heaven has forgotten you. But the truth, chosen one, is that you are not being destroyed. You are being refined. The fire that surrounds you is not the fire of punishment. It is the fire of purification. You have walked through seasons where everything you depended on was stripped away. You thought you were losing everything, but in reality, what you were losing was illusion. The things that once defined you no longer hold power because God is defining you anew. The refining fire is heaven's way of burning away what cannot go with you into your next season. When metal is placed into the flame, it screams before it shines. It bends, it melts, it surrenders to the heat, and only then does the purest form of that metal emerge. So too is your spirit in this moment. The heat you feel is not abandonment, it is transformation. Heaven is molding you into the version of yourself that can carry the weight of divine destiny without breaking beneath it. Every disappointment, every betrayal, every long night of weeping, they were not wasted. Fire has memory. It remembers what it consumes and transforms it into strength. You have endured storms that would have destroyed others because you were built with something eternal inside you. Your faith is not fragile. It has been fire-tested. You may look at the ashes of what used to be, dreams that didn't manifest, relationships that ended, seasons that shifted, and wonder why they had to burn. But even ashes have purpose. The soil of your future will be richer because of what the fire left behind. When heaven allows something to be consumed, it's only because resurrection is waiting on the other side. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in the book Malachi, chapter 3, verse 3. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. Those words describe what God is doing with you now. Notice that the verse says he sits. The refiner does not walk away from the fire. He remains close, watching carefully, ensuring the heat never becomes too great. He knows precisely how long to keep you there so that you are purified, not destroyed. If you are still in the fire, it means heaven is still shaping you for glory. Refining is not comfortable. It exposes impurities you didn't know were there, old fears, hidden pride, unhealed wounds. Yet, as each impurity rises to the surface, God removes it with tenderness. The process hurts, but the purpose heals. He is not angry with you. He is preparing you. Sometimes, the refining fire doesn't change your circumstances right away. It changes you. It makes you stronger, clearer, and more discerning. It teaches you to distinguish between what glitters and what truly glows. You start recognizing peace as your compass instead of approval. You begin to crave purpose more than comfort. You stop chasing validation and start valuing vision. That shift is the fruit of refinement. Think about the seasons where everything was taken from you. At first, it felt like devastation. But later, you realized you didn't need half of what you were clinging to. You discovered that your true treasure was never in possessions, people, or praise. It was in your resilience, your faith, and your unwavering connection to the divine. There is something holy about surviving the fire. It leaves you different, quieter, wiser, more compassionate. You no longer judge others as quickly because you know what it's like to be shattered and rebuilt. You no longer waste words on fear because you have stared into flames and seen God's hand steadying you. You've learned that refinement is not about what you lose. It's about what remains. What remains after the fire is pure, untouchable, eternal. And that is what heaven wants to reveal in you, the part that cannot be destroyed by circumstance or shaken by storms. Chosen one, take courage. The fire is not forever. Every blaze has its ending, and what emerges from it always shines brighter. There will come a morning when the smoke clears and you will look at yourself, not with shame, but with awe. You will realize that you didn't just survive. You transformed. The very heat that once threatened to consume you will become the warmth that lights the path for others. People will find comfort in your story, strength in your scars, and hope in your endurance. That is the legacy of the refined. So, breathe. Let the flames do their sacred work. Trust the refiner's hands. They know exactly what they are doing. You are not forgotten in the fire. You are being fashioned for greatness, and when the process is complete, you will shine with a light that no darkness can ever extinguish. There comes a season when obedience begins to taste some. It is no longer about following God when it is easy, convenient, or comfortable. It is about choosing Him when everything inside you trembles. When heaven tests your resolve, it is not because it doubts your faith. It is because it is strengthening it. Every act of obedience becomes a hammer striking your spirit into shape. You have reached a point in your journey where God no longer speaks only to comfort. You are now hearing Him to be commissioned, and with that commissioning comes testing. Obedience without cost is agreement, but obedience that costs everything is covenant. This season will ask you to let go of what you thought was necessary. It will challenge your attachments, your habits, your pride, your comfort zones. Heaven is not being cruel. It is creating space for something greater. Just as gold must pass through fire to be purified, so must your will be tested to reveal true devotion. There will be times when obedience looks like silence, when you feel the ache of unanswered prayers, or when you have to move without understanding the full reason why. You will ask, "Why God? Why this path? Why this delay?" And heaven will whisper, "Because you asked to be used." The anointing you carry requires surrender that few are willing to give. When heaven tests your resolve, it often begins with the small things. An act of forgiveness, a moment of humility, a quiet yes when your flesh screams, "No." These moments shape your spiritual backbone. You cannot carry divine authority if you cannot first carry divine instruction. The heart that obeys even when no one is watching becomes the heart that heaven can trust with power. You will be misunderstood in this season. People will question your decisions, not realizing that you are following a voice they cannot hear. They will call you stubborn when you are being steadfast. They will call you foolish when you are walking by faith. But you must remember, obedience is not about approval. It is about alignment. Heaven measures success not by how many agree with you, but by how fully you obey. Sometimes, obedience will lead you into isolation. The road of divine purpose is often narrow, not because God wants to make it difficult, but because few are willing to travel where ego cannot survive. You will feel the weight of sacrifice pressing against your chest, but that weight is proof that your calling is real. If obedience doesn't stretch you, it doesn't shape you. In the sacred history of faith, every chosen one endured this refining path. Abraham was told to leave everything familiar. Moses was commanded to speak to Pharaoh though he feared speaking. Esther had to risk her life to fulfill her assignment. Every act of obedience rewrote the story of humanity. And now, it is your turn. Heaven speaks through the story of 1 Samuel, chapter 15, verse 22. To obey is better than sacrifice. Those words pierce through time, echoing across generations, reminding every chosen soul that what God desires most is not performance, but obedience. Sacrifice can come from pride, but obedience flows from love. When you obey, you are saying to heaven, I trust you even when I do not understand you. The hardest obedience is often letting go of people, of dreams, of identities that no longer serve your purpose. You will grieve what you release, but remember, the pain of obedience is temporary, while the reward of obedience is eternal. The moment you choose to obey, heaven rearranges everything in your favor, even when you cannot see it yet. When God asks something of you, it is never to take something from you. It is to prepare you for something better. Every yes you give heaven becomes a seed for miracles you haven't even imagined. Each act of surrender is an invitation for divine strategy to unfold. You may not understand the test you are in right now. You may feel stretched, confused, or even weary. But do not retreat. Heaven is not punishing you. It is promoting you. The silence is not rejection. It is training. The challenge is not a curse. It is the crucible where destiny is forged. Chosen one, there will be moments when the cost of obedience feels too high. But remember that disobedience costs even more. To resist God's will is to resist your own purpose. Trust the process. Yield even when it hurts. Every step you take in obedience opens gates that rebellion could never reach. One day soon, you will look back on this season and understand that the test was never meant to break you. It was meant to reveal you. The pain you feel now will become the proof of your faith. The tears you shed in surrender will become the rivers through which blessings flow. And when heaven finds you faithful in the small things, it will entrust you with greater things. For obedience is not just the path to blessing. It is the blessing itself. There are forces moving all around you that your natural eyes cannot see. You sense them sometimes. The sudden heaviness when you are about to take a step of faith, the strange fatigue that hits when you begin to pray, the way chaos seems to rise right when peace is near. This is not coincidence. It is conflict. You are standing in the midst of unseen warfare. Chosen one, you are not paranoid. You are perceptive. Spiritual sensitivity often feels like pressure because you are aware of battles others can't discern. When you carry light, you attract resistance. The enemy recognizes the authority you carry before you do. And though you cannot see the battle lines, heaven assures you that victory is already written in your favor. Spiritual warfare does not always look like thunder and lightning. Sometimes it looks like delay. Sometimes it feels like confusion. Sometimes it takes the shape of people suddenly turning cold. The unseen realm influences what happens in the natural. That is why your prayer life is so powerful. It shifts what eyes cannot perceive. There are moments when you feel a sudden sadness, anxiety, or oppression for no reason. That's not weakness. It's discernment. Your spirit detects spiritual pressure before your mind can process it. You're not just feeling for yourself. Often, you are standing in intercession for others. Heaven trusts you to sense what others ignore, to pray when others complain, to declare truth when others doubt. You have authority even in invisible battles. Do not underestimate the strength of a whispered prayer or a single moment of faith. The unseen world responds to the sound of your belief. When you speak light, darkness trembles. When you worship in pain, chains shatter in realms you will never fully comprehend. Every act of faith receives power into dimensions beyond the physical. The Apostle Paul revealed this mystery in the sacred writings of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Those words unveil what most ignore. You are not fighting people. The true struggle is not against humans, but against the systems and spirits that manipulate them. Understanding this truth frees you from bitterness. You no longer see enemies in faces. You see lost souls who need light. You stop wasting energy on offense and start focusing on prayer. Every time you resist the urge to retaliate, you win a battle. Every time you choose forgiveness instead of revenge, you release a divine weapon. Mercy confuses darkness. Gratitude blinds the enemy. Worship breaks the walls that worry builds. Spiritual warfare is fought not with fists, but with faith. You may not realize it, but your endurance in trials has already defeated more darkness than you know. The times you kept walking when you wanted to quit, the prayers you whispered through tears, the moments you smiled even when breaking, those were victories. The unseen world witnessed your persistence and trembled. The reason you feel so much resistance is because you carry breakthrough anointing. When you rise, generations rise with you. That's why the enemy fights so fiercely, because your obedience will liberate others who are bound. The attacks around you are not random. They are strategic. But remember this, so is your calling. Heaven's plans are older than any plot of darkness. In this season, you must remain spiritually alert. Guard your mind, for that is where battles begin. Guard your peace, for that is where victories are maintained. Do not feed the thoughts that drain your spirit. Speak life. Speak scripture. Speak destiny. You are not powerless. You are positioned. Sometimes the greatest act of warfare is rest. When you refuse to panic, you rob the enemy of control. When you rest in divine timing, heaven fights on your behalf. The battle is not yours alone. You are surrounded by armies of light, unseen but ever present. Angels move when you pray, and heaven's hand defends those who walk in purpose. There will be days when you feel weary, but remember, even warriors need rest between battles. Heaven never called you to carry every burden, only to stand firm. You are not responsible for the outcome, only for obedience. Victory belongs to the one who called you. So when darkness presses in, lift your head and remember who fights beside you. The same power that conquered death now dwells within you. You do not fight for victory. You fight from victory. Now, if this message resonates with your spirit, take a moment to declare your alignment with heaven. Type, "I will stand" in the comments below. When you write those words, you're not typing into emptiness. You're making a declaration into eternity. You're saying that no matter the pressure, no matter the opposition, you will not retreat. You will stand firm, clothed in faith, grounded in light, anchored in truth. Remember, chosen one, unseen battles require unseen strength, and you already carry it. Every step you take in faith weakens the grip of darkness. Keep standing. The victory is already yours. There are moments when life feels chaotic, when everything around you seems uncertain. Yet somehow you are still here. Not by accident, not by luck, but by divine protection. The very fact that you survived what should have destroyed you is evidence that heaven has been watching over you all along. There were nights when danger passed your door, mornings when peace returned for no reason you could explain. It wasn't coincidence, it was covenant. The truth is, there are forces that move on your behalf, unseen but unstoppable. They guard you when you drive, when you sleep, when you walk through the valley of confusion. These are not just poetic metaphors, they are spiritual realities. Heaven has assigned guardians to your life, angels who move at the whisper of divine command. Think about it. How many times were you delayed by a few minutes only to avoid disaster later? How many times did a feeling warn you not to go somewhere, not to trust someone, not to move too soon? That was not random intuition. That was divine intervention. The unseen protection of heaven has been orchestrating your survival from the very beginning. Your life is like a fragile glass carried in the hands of a master craftsman. The journey may shake, storms may rise, but the hands never let go. Even when you stumbled, Mercy caught you before the fall. Even when you wandered, grace built a road beneath your feet. The plans that formed against you didn't fail because they were weak, failed because heaven intervened. We are reminded through the words of Psalm, chapter 91, verse 11. He will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. That promise is not an ancient legend. It is living truth. Every breath you take is guarded. Every step you make is measured. The same angels that stood beside Daniel in the lion's den still walk among us today. They move quietly, unseen, yet their presence changes everything. Sometimes, the protection of heaven doesn't look like what you expect. It doesn't always come as miraculous escape. It often comes disguised as delay. The door that didn't open may have been a wall built to keep you safe. The person who left your life may have been an answer to a prayer you forgot you prayed. Heaven protects you even from what you think you want. Protection isn't only about safety, it's about positioning. God doesn't just keep you alive, He keeps you aligned. Every closed door redirects you toward purpose. Every storm reroutes you toward strength. And every disappointment reminds you that your destiny is not dependent on human favor, but on divine guidance. Chosen one, the reason you are still here is because heaven has invested too much in you to let you be lost. There were battles you never saw, wars fought in the spirit while you slept. Angels stood between you and destruction. Your survival is not a coincidence, it's a testimony. Sometimes you may feel protected. You may look around and see chaos, heartbreak, or loss. But protection does not always mean the absence of pain. It often means the presence of preservation. Even when everything breaks around you, God keeps your spirit intact. That is the kind of protection that builds warriors out of survivors. Think of your life like a lighthouse on a stormy coast. The waves crash, the winds howl, the darkness presses in, but the light remains. It stands because it is anchored to something deeper than the storm. That's you. The world may shake, but you are rooted in divine security. And now, as you hear these words, take a moment to breathe in gratitude. Gratitude multiplies grace. Gratitude acknowledges that even when you didn't understand, you were being guided. If this message touches your heart, if you've ever felt that unseen protection, then let your gratitude become part of the ripple that carries light to others. When you like this message, you keep the flame alive. When you share, you pass that light to another soul who may be standing on the edge of despair. When you subscribe, you stay connected to this river of revelation flowing from heaven's heart. And if you ever feel led to donate, see it not as giving to a person but as pouring oil into the lamp. Oil keeps the fire burning. Every drop you offer extends the reach of this light to someone walking through their own darkness. Imagine a ship sailing through fog. Every beacon it sees keeps it from crashing against the unseen rocks. That's what your act of support does. It becomes a beacon for another traveler. You may never meet them, but heaven records the ripple. Your generosity, your engagement, your willingness to carry light forward. All of it becomes part of heaven's network of protection that covers others as you have been covered. Chosen one, the same angels that shielded you through your storms now use your story to shield others. You are both protected and protector, a vessel of divine preservation. Rest in that truth tonight. Heaven has never stopped watching over you, and it never will. There comes a moment when everything that once felt delayed suddenly begins to move. It happens quietly, almost imperceptibly at first. One small opportunity, one unexpected conversation, one open door that feels strangely effortless. What you are witnessing is not coincidence. It is divine alignment. Heaven's timing has caught up with your preparation, and what was once hidden is now ready to unfold. For years, you carried promises that seemed to fade with time. You prayed, you waited, you obeyed, yet nothing seemed to move. You wondered if perhaps you heard wrong, if maybe your dream had expired. But heaven's promises do not decay with time. They mature. What felt like stillness was not stagnation. It was incubation. Seeds do not die in the soil. They transform in silence. When alignment begins, you can feel it in your spirit before you see it in your circumstances. There's a sudden lightness in your soul, a quiet confidence that something is shifting. Even before the evidence appears, your heart knows the season has changed. The clouds that once loomed heavy begin to lift, and you can almost sense the scent of rain before it falls. Chosen one, the delays were not denials. They were divine scheduling. Heaven never moves late. It moves right on time, when your heart, your character, and your surroundings have been prepared for the weight of what's coming. Alignment means heaven and earth finally agree concerning you. It means your effort, your endurance, and your obedience have reached their appointed hour of fulfillment. It is written in Habakkuk, chapter 2, verses 2 and 3. Write the vision. Make it plain on tablets, for it awaits an appointed time. Though it lingers, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. Those ancient words carry timeless truth. Every divine vision has an appointed time, and that time cannot be rushed. If God had released what you asked for too soon, it would have crushed you instead of completing you. Every not yet was protection in disguise. Every closed door was a wall of mercy guarding you from premature exposure. Now, as alignment unfolds, it may feel surreal. Opportunities that used to require striving will start meeting you halfway. Conversations will lead to connections you couldn't have arranged if you tried. What you chased will begin to find you, because what belongs to you recognizes your frequency once you are ready for it. Do not mistake ease for coincidence. When you are aligned, effort no longer equals exhaustion. It equals flow. You are no longer forcing outcomes. You are moving with heaven's rhythm. There is a grace that accompanies divine timing, a peace that confirms you are no longer ahead or behind, but exactly where you are meant to be. This alignment will not only affect your opportunities, it will reorder your relationships. People who were once distant will reappear, and others will quietly exit. Do not cling to what heaven is releasing. The new alignment requires a new circle, one that vibrates at the frequency of your purpose. Those who belong in this next season will not need convincing. They will recognize the divine in you immediately. Be mindful of how you carry yourself in this time. Success can be as much of a test as struggle. When things begin to align, stay humble, stay anchored. The same God who lifted you is the one who sustained you in obscurity. Do not forget the lessons the waiting taught you: patience, dependence, compassion, and faith. Those qualities are the pillars of longevity. You may notice that the very skills, pain, and wisdom you gained in the wilderness are now becoming the tools for your promotion. The experiences that once made you question your worth are now making you indispensable. That is the power of divine alignment. It redeems time. Nothing is wasted. Sometimes, divine alignment also brings closure. You will see clearly why certain things had to end. The puzzle pieces will finally fit, and the picture of your journey will make sense. You will realize that every heartbreak was holy redirection, every delay was divine coordination, and every moment of silence was heaven's way of tuning your spirit to its frequency. Chosen one, this is your appointed hour. Move with reverence but also with boldness. Walk through the open doors without hesitation, but do not run ahead of grace. Let peace, not pressure, lead you. Where there is divine alignment, there will always be divine assurance. Soon, you will look around and realize that what you once prayed for has become your reality. You won't need to chase signs, they will surround you. The waiting was worth it. The preparation was not in vain, and the alignment is unstoppable. So stand tall, breathe deeply. Heaven and earth have come into agreement concerning your destiny. What once lingered in delay now flows in divine timing, and this time nothing will be able to stop what God has set in motion. There comes a moment when heaven begins to trust you with authority real. Divine authority that does not come from titles, applause, or position, but from obedience and endurance. You have been through the fire, through silence, through warfare, and now you stand stronger than you realize. The mantle of authority is not just given, it is earned through surrender. Every yes you whispered in the dark prepared you for this hour. The authority you carry now is not loud or boastful. It does not shout to be heard or demand to be seen. True spiritual authority moves quietly, but shifts everything it touches. It is the kind of power that speaks peace into chaos, that heals with a word, that breaks strongholds simply by walking into a room. Heaven has chosen you to carry that weight, to speak, to decree, to establish. When you were still being broken, you thought your pain was pointless. Now, you see, it was training. God has been teaching you not only how to fight battles, but how to command victory. The wilderness taught you strength. The fire taught you purity. The silence taught you discernment. And now, heaven is saying, "Speak, my chosen one." The authority you walk in is spiritual, not human. It is rooted in humility, not pride. You are not called to dominate. You are called to illuminate. When you speak, you do not echo opinions. You release decrees. The power that flows through you is not your own. It is divine current moving through surrendered vessels. As Jesus himself declared in Luke, chapter 10, verse 19, "Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions." Those words are not symbolic. They are strategic. Heaven is reminding you that you have authority over everything that once intimidated you. You are no longer the one running from fear. Fear now flees from you. You carry the same spirit that raised Christ from the dead, and that means you have jurisdiction over darkness, over confusion, over despair. You are heaven's ambassador in earthly form. Chosen one, this mantle of authority is not for show, it is for service. God does not crown you for comfort. He crowns you for responsibility. Your voice is meant to heal, not to harm. Your words are meant to build, not to boast. When you speak, the realm of heaven listens. When you decree, creation responds. That is why the tongue of the chosen must be disciplined, because it has power to shape reality. Authority is not about command, it's about alignment. You are powerful only because you are connected to the source of all power. The moment you disconnect, the flow stops. That is why humility must anchor every miracle you perform, every word you release, every act of leadership you take. You are not the power. You are the vessel. The mantle you carry will draw both honor and hostility. Some will recognize it and be drawn to the light within you. Others will resist it, not because they hate you, but because your presence reveals what they have not yet surrendered. Do not take offense. Authority always exposes what's hidden. The more you operate in this mantle, the more heaven will expand your territory. But expansion without discipline leads to collapse. Protect your peace. Guard your time. Stay rooted in prayer, because authority without intimacy becomes arrogance. Every miracle must point back to the one who gave the power. Your life will begin to carry evidence of divine influence. Doors will open without effort. Words you speak in faith will manifest faster than before. People will find freedom simply by being near your obedience. But remember, miracles are not trophies. They are tools. The goal is not recognition, but restoration. Authority also means accountability. Heaven will hold you responsible for the light you carry. You can no longer move carelessly or speak casually. Your words carry weight, and your actions set precedent. You are shaping atmospheres every day, whether you realize it or not. That is the power and the burden of divine authority. When you walk into a place, walk with quiet confidence. You don't need to announce your calling. The atmosphere will testify. The same spirit that hovered over creation now hovers around you. You are a walking extension of divine order. And now, as your spirit absorbs this truth, let your faith respond in prophetic agreement. Type 9999 in the comments below. That number represents divine finality, the completion of a season and the establishment of new authority. When you type it, you are declaring, "I accept my mantle. I will use my power for purpose, not pride." Let it be more than a comment. Let it be covenant. Heaven recognizes agreement. When you act in faith, the spiritual realm aligns. This is your moment of divine empowerment. You are not waiting for permission anymore. You have already been appointed. So stand tall, speak truth, and walk in your calling. Heaven has signed your authority, and earth is waiting for your command. After long nights of struggle, something begins to shift in your soul. The heaviness that once sat on your chest starts to lift. The silence that once felt suffocating begins to sound like peace. You wake up one morning and realize that the ache in your heart has softened, not because life suddenly became easy, but because healing finally began to take root. What you are feeling is the return of joy. It doesn't arrive like thunder. It comes quietly, like dawn creeping through the cracks of a long night. For a while, you didn't even notice it. You just laughed a little louder, breathed a little deeper, and felt gratitude in places where pain once lived. Joy does not always announce itself. It simply moves in and rearranges the atmosphere of your spirit. For so long, you carried sorrow as if it were part of your identity. You forgot what it felt like to smile without pretending. But heaven never designed you to live permanently in grief. Suffering is a season, not a sentence. The same God who allowed you to weep in the valley is the one now teaching you how to dance again on the mountain. The joy returning to you is not shallow happiness. It is sacred restoration. Happiness depends on circumstances. Joy depends on connection. It is the inward knowing that even if everything changes, God's presence remains. It is peace that outlasts pain, laughter that grows out of loss, and light that finds its way through cracks you thought would never close. You see, joy is not something you chase. It's something that finds you when your heart becomes ready again. And readiness comes when you finally stop fighting the process. There was a time you prayed for God to remove the pain, but He wanted to use it. He was not punishing you. He was purifying your capacity for joy. Because only those who have cried deeply can laugh fully. Only those who have known loss can truly cherish gain. There were days when you thought joy would never return. You went through motions, smiled for others, but inside you were numb. Yet even in that numbness, heaven was working. Healing often happens silently, the way seeds grow beneath the soil. You can't see it at first, but one day, the surface cracks open and life appears again. The Word of God reminds us in Nehemiah, chapter 8, verse 10, "The joy of the Lord is your strength." That strength is not a burst of emotion. It a steady force, a quiet courage that carries you through both laughter and tears. The joy heaven gives does not ignore pain. It transforms it. It teaches you to hold sorrow in one hand and gratitude in the other, and to live fully even when you're still healing. Chosen one, joy is your inheritance. The enemy tried to convince you that your heart would stay broken forever, but heaven says otherwise. What was once fractured is now being filled. The empty spaces inside you are being occupied by light. The laughter you thought you lost is returning with double measure. The tears that once symbolized grief now water the soil of new beginnings. You are learning that joy doesn't erase the past, it redeems it. The memories that once hurt to recall are now becoming testimonies. Every wound that once bled pain will one day tell a story of grace. That's the miracle of divine joy. It rewrites the narrative without denying the truth. As joy returns, it changes how you see everything. You no longer chase validation from others, because joy has made you whole within. You no longer fear tomorrow, because you've seen how God can turn ashes into beauty. You walk lighter, speak kinder, and carry peace wherever you go. You've stopped needing to prove your worth, because you finally understand. You are already loved, already chosen, already enough. Joy also brings clarity. It sharpens your vision, allowing you to see the blessings you once overlooked. The small things, a sunrise, a song, a friend's laughter, become sacred again. The world hasn't changed, you have. Your heart, once heavy with disappointment, has been reintroduced to wonder. The return of joy is heaven's way of saying, you made it. You survived the dark night of the soul, and now morning has come. You are no longer living in survival mode. You are learning to thrive again. The same fire that once tested you now warms you. The same tears that once stung your cheeks now reflect sunlight. Do not rush this season. Let joy rebuild you slowly. Let it soak into the places grief left dry. Let it teach you how to live freely, how to smile without fear of loss, how to love without hesitation. This is the part of your story where beauty begins to bloom again, where your heart, once guarded, becomes gardened by grace. You have been faithful through pain, and now you are being rewarded with renewal. Joy is not a reward for perfection. It is the promise for perseverance. So, lift your head, chosen one. You are walking into a season where laughter will echo louder than sorrow ever did. The night is over. Morning has come. As the season of joy unfolds, something even greater begins to stir within you. A sense that you are not alone in this calling. You begin to notice other souls who carry the same light in their eyes, the same quiet strength that comes from walking through fire and coming out refined. You recognize them instantly, not by their appearance, but by their spirit. It is as though heaven is gathering its chosen ones from every corner of the earth. The gathering of the remnant has begun. This gathering is not about numbers. It is about purpose. It is not a crowd. It is a collective. These are not ordinary people. They are the awakened ones, those who refuse to be broken, those who chose faith when it made no sense. They are doctors, artists, mothers, teachers, builders, ordinary lives with extraordinary purpose. Each carries a fragment of divine light, and now, those fragments are being drawn together to form a greater flame. For too long, you thought you were walking this path alone. The isolation was real, the silence heavy. But in truth, heaven was preparing others just like you, training them in hidden places, refining them through trials, whispering the same words of destiny into their spirits. And now, one by one, they are awakening. The world calls it coincidence when paths cross at just the right moment, but heaven calls it orchestration. When the remnant gathers, everything accelerates. Miracles multiply. Revelation increases. What one could not carry alone, the many now carry together. Each chosen one brings a sound, a word, a spark, and together they form the symphony of divine restoration. It is written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 20, "Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I among them." That promise is not metaphor, it is law. When light gathers with light, heaven descends. The very atmosphere shifts. This is why the remnant is being united, to establish heaven's presence on earth, not through force, but through oneness. The gathering is not about building monuments, it's about building momentum. Chosen one, you are part of that divine network. You are being connected to others who understand your language of the Spirit. These are people who do not see your light as competition, but as confirmation. They don't drain you. They ignite you. Their presence will feel like home. Their words like prophecy. You will know them by peace, by authenticity, and by the sense of recognition that says, "We've met before in spirit, if not in body." This gathering transcends distance. Some you will meet face to face. Others you will encounter through words, through messages, through shared visions. The remnant does not need proximity to feel unity. Their connection is spiritual, not physical. Like stars scattered across the night sky, each shines in its place, yet together they illuminate the whole. The purpose of this remnant is not rebellion, it is restoration. The world has grown weary of noise, deception, and division. The chosen ones rise not to condemn but to heal. They bring truth wrapped in grace, authority clothed in humility, power balanced with peace. They are the living proof that love still carries heaven's power. You will begin to sense it more and more, a stirring to connect, to build, to create with others who carry this same fire. Some will bring vision, others provision. Some will bring wisdom, others energy. Together, you will form bridges between heaven and earth. You will stand as living altars where divine power flows into human reality. But with gathering comes discernment. Not every light you see is pure. Some will imitate the language of the remnant but lack its spirit. You must test the fruit, not just the words. True chosen ones carry peace that cannot be faked, humility that cannot be rehearsed, and truth that does not waver under pressure. When you find them, honor them. Cherish those divine connections. Pray for one another. Stand together when storms come, for your unity is both your strength and your shield. The enemy fears a unified remnant more than anything else, because unity multiplies light. A single flame can warm a room, but 1,000 can light up a nation. You were never meant to walk alone. The isolation you once endured was only for a season of preparation, not a lifetime of solitude. Heaven hid you until the right people were ready to find you. And now, that moment has come. The call has gone out across realms, and the awakened are answering. Look closely. You will begin to see them everywhere. The cashier who speaks hope, the friend who prayed without you asking, the stranger who says exactly what your spirit needed to hear. The remnant moves quietly, but their impact is thunderous. This is the gathering of heaven's army. Not one of violence, but of vision. A company of hearts burning for truth, hands ready to heal, voices prepared to speak light into shadow. You are one of them, chosen one. The time of isolation is over. The season of gathering has begun, and together you will turn darkness into dawn. There is a sacred balance that every chosen one must learn to carry. The weight of the crown and the weight of the cross. They belong together. One cannot exist without the other. The crown represents glory, victory, and recognition. The cross represents surrender, sacrifice, and humility. Both are necessary. One reminds you of who you are, the other reminds you whom you serve. When you first began your journey, you dreamed only of the crown, the promise, the reward, the light shining on your destiny. But now you understand that the cross is not a punishment, it is preparation. The crown without the cross would crush you. The cross without the crown would break you. But together, they build you into something unshakable. Every trial you endured was a rehearsal for the throne. Every tear you shed became oil for your anointing. Every burden you carried was shaping your shoulders to bear the weight of greatness with grace. The world applauds the crown but forgets the cost of carrying it. Only heaven knows how much strength it takes to wear both with integrity. You see, the crown is not made of gold. It is made of endurance. Each jewel in it represents a lesson learned in pain. Patience, faith, forgiveness, resilience. And the cross? It is the reminder that glory means nothing without compassion. You carry both not to exalt yourself, but to serve others more deeply. It is written in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 2, verse 12. If we suffer, we shall also reign with him. Those words are not a threat. They are a promise. Suffering does not disqualify you. It qualifies you. To reign with Christ is not to sit in comfort, but to stand in service. It is to use your scars as proof that redemption is real. Chosen one, there will be days when the crown feels heavy and the cross feels unbearable. You will question whether you have the strength to keep walking. But remember this, even the weight of both rests lighter on those who walk with heaven's help. The same God who placed the crown on your head is the one who helps you bear the cross on your back. The two must move together like wings on the same bird. One lifts you higher, the other keeps you grounded. Too much focus on the crown and you risk pride. Too much focus on the cross and you risk despair. But balance them and you will soar. Powerful yet peaceful, bold yet humble, victorious yet compassionate. The world will not always understand your journey. Some will envy your crown but never see your cross. Others will notice your suffering but never recognize your strength. Do not waste energy explaining yourself. The path of the chosen is not meant to be understood. It is meant to be witnessed. Your life itself is the sermon. When you walk with both crown and cross, your presence carries a strange paradox. Authority wrapped in tenderness, power balanced with peace. People will feel safe around you, not because you are perfect, but because you carry the fragrance of someone who has suffered and survived. This message, this mission, this moment, it is a shared walk. Every word that flows through this space, every whisper of truth that reaches your heart, exists to remind you that you are not carrying these weights alone. There are countless others walking this same sacred road, each one with their own cross, each one wearing their invisible crown. Together, we form a kingdom of endurance. If this message resonates with your spirit, if it breathes life into your journey, then consider how you can help the light travel further. When you like this message, you are not just tapping a screen. You are adding your flame to the fire. When you share, you help another weary soul discover that they too are crowned and called. When you subscribe, you stay close to a flow of divine encouragement that reminds you of who you are when the world tries to make you forget. And if your heart ever feels stirred to donate, let it be seen not as transaction, but transformation. It is like pouring oil into a lamp that helps this message continue shining through the dark. Every act of generosity becomes a bridge for truth to reach someone lost at sea. You may never know the faces your light will touch, but heaven will. Finally, if this spoke to you deeply, take a quiet moment and leave a comment, your own reflection, your story, your yes. When you write, you are not just engaging, you are planting testimony. Someone else will read your words and realize they are not walking alone. Remember, chosen one, both the cross and the crown belong to you. Carry them with reverence, walk with balance, and shine with humility. The world will know you not by your perfection, but by the peace that radiates from a soul that has suffered well and still believes. There comes a point when the fog finally lifts and you begin to see what has been hidden all along. It doesn't come as a sudden explosion of clarity. It unfolds like dawn creeping gently over the horizon. The shadows that once confused you now reveal their purpose. The broken pieces that once hurt a touch begin to form a pattern. You realize that none of it was random. It all had meaning. What you are walking into now is the great revelation, the unveiling of divine truth that explains why you were chosen, why you were tested, and why you had to walk through so much before this moment. The revelation comes not to overwhelm, but to awaken. Heaven begins to connect the dots of your life, The people, the places, the timing, and suddenly you see the invisible hand that guided it all. What once looked like detours now look like design. The pain that once felt pointless becomes the evidence of purpose. You start to understand that every unanswered prayer was an act of protection, and every delay was a form of divine mercy. For so long, you prayed for answers. You begged God to explain. But heaven was not ignoring you. It was waiting for your eyes to mature enough to see truth without breaking under it. Revelation is not given when you demand it. It is given when you are ready to hold it. And now, you are ready. The Spirit begins to reveal patterns. You see how each heartbreak carved empathy into you. You understand how your solitude taught you discernment. You realize that the seasons that felt empty were actually full of preparation. Heaven does not waste experiences. It recycles them into wisdom. Every lesson you learned, every trial you endured, every small act of faith, it all led here to this unveiling, as was spoken by the Lord in Luke chapter 8, verse 17. Nothing is hidden that will not be disclosed. That verse is not only about exposing darkness, it is about revealing destiny. God is lifting the veil from your life. The questions that tormented you for years will begin to find answers, not always in words, but in peace. Revelation is not just knowing. It is understanding why it had to be this way. You will begin to see why certain people had to leave. Their absence made room for clarity. You will understand why some dreams were delayed. They needed more maturity to manifest safely. You will even start to thank God for the doors that closed, because now you see what was waiting behind them. This revelation brings both joy and awe. You will cry, not out of sorrow, but from recognition. You will say, "Now I see." You will realize that heaven never abandoned you, not even in the moments when you felt forgotten. Every silence was strategic. Every step, even the missteps, were guided back into alignment by divine hands. The great revelation does not come to flatter you. It comes to free you. It frees you from bitterness, from confusion, from self-blame. It reveals that nothing was wasted. Not one tear, not one night, not one disappointment. You have been part of a grand orchestration that stretches far beyond what your human mind can grasp. This is the moment when heaven turns hindsight into prophecy. You look back and realize the clues were always there. The numbers, the timing, the faces, the moments. They were pieces of a map. You just couldn't see the pattern while still walking it. Revelation is heaven handing you the completed picture. And yet, revelation is not the end. It is an invitation. Once you see clearly, you are responsible for what you know. Truth is meant to transform, not just inform. You will be called to walk differently now, with greater faith, deeper compassion, and bolder obedience. The understanding you carry is not meant for you alone. It is meant to guide others still wandering in confusion. Chosen one, this unveiling will bring peace, but it will also awaken urgency. Once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you understand, you cannot pretend not to know. Heaven trusts you to carry truth with humility, to speak it with grace, and to live it with integrity. In this new clarity, the world will appear both more fragile and more beautiful. You will see divine fingerprints in ordinary things, a child's laughter, a sunrise, a stranger's kindness. You will recognize heaven's handwriting across your entire life story, and you will finally see yourself not as a victim of chaos, but as a vessel of purpose. The great revelation reveals not only God's plan, but your place in it. You were written into eternity with intention. Every page of your story was authored with love, even the ones stained by tears. And now that you see, truly see, you can walk forward without fear. You have entered the realm of understanding where faith and sight meet. The journey that once made no sense now feels sacred. The mystery is no longer your enemy. It is your teacher. And through it, you discover that revelation was never about knowing everything. It was about trusting the one who always did. There comes a moment when everything that was promised, everything that was prepared, finally begins to manifest. The battles you fought, the tears you shed, the faith you held on to through shaking hands. All of it led here, to the prophetic fulfillment of your destiny. You are no longer in the season of waiting. You are in the season of becoming. The doors that once resisted you now open with ease, not because the world changed, but because you did. You have become the key heaven was waiting for. The fulfillment of prophecy is never loud. It rarely comes with grand announcements or fanfare. It unfolds quietly, in the subtle ways heaven loves to move. An idea that ignites at the right moment, a connection that feels divinely timed, an inner peace that confirms what words could never explain. Fulfillment is not about arrival, it is about alignment. When your inner world matches heaven's rhythm, everything around you begins to respond. You can feel it in your spirit, the sense that something sacred is shifting. The dreams that once felt distant now begin to breathe. The prayers you whispered in pain are now echoing as blessings. The places where you were once rejected now call your name with honor. What once broke you now bows to the strength it built in you. As the prophet Isaiah wrote in Isaiah chapter 60 verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." These words are not poetic, they are prophetic. They speak directly to you in this moment of fulfillment. The light that once flickered inside you now blazes openly. You are no longer hiding. You are no longer unsure. You have stepped into your appointed hour, crowned not with pride, but with purpose. This is not the fulfillment of every dream, but the unfolding of divine timing. Heaven does not rush destiny. It reveals it layer by layer, season by season. What you are experiencing now is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a new chapter, written in confidence, no longer in survival. You no longer move from fear of failure, but from the certainty of calling. Chosen one, prophetic fulfillment feels different from what you imagined. It is not always the sudden explosion of success you envisioned. It is quiet authority, steady peace, and deep gratitude. It is the moment you realize that you don't need to chase what you once longed for because it has already been given. The gift was never the platform. It was the peace. The reward was not recognition. It was revelation. Fulfillment does not mean life becomes effortless. It means you now carry effort with grace. You walk through challenges differently, not as someone trying to survive, but as someone aware that victory is already sealed. The same obstacles that once frightened you now feel smaller because you have grown taller. The mountains didn't shrink, your faith expanded. There is beauty in this maturity. You no longer demand signs because you have become one. You no longer ask for proof because your life itself is the evidence. Every scar tells a story. Every victory whispers of grace. Every step declares the faithfulness of the one who called you. This season will also bring recognition, not the shallow kind that fades, but divine acknowledgement. Heaven will confirm through people, through favor, through timing, that you are exactly where you were meant to be. But remember, this is not a reward for endurance alone. It is a release of responsibility. Fulfillment always comes with new assignments. The mantle on your life has expanded, and with it comes greater influence, greater accountability, and greater light. Do not fear the weight of this moment. You were prepared for it. Everything you endured was shaping your character for this responsibility. You are now a torchbearer for others, still wandering in the dark. The same grace that carried you through the valley will guide you across the mountaintop. You will speak and see chains fall. You will move and see doors open, not because of who you are, but because of who walks with you. There is a quiet glory resting on your life now. It doesn't shout, it radiates. People will notice the peak before they hear your words. They will sense heaven's presence before they know your name. You are not striving anymore. You are flowing. You are walking in sync with divine purpose, finally at peace with what was, what is, and what will be. Prophetic fulfillment is not the end of your transformation. It is the proof of it. The long nights, the hidden years, the silent battles, all of them were leading to this moment where purpose and peace meet. So breathe, chosen one. You have arrived at the threshold of destiny. What lies ahead is no longer preparation, it is impact. You are the fulfillment of prayers spoken generations ago. You are the living prophecy of resilience and grace. And as you step forward, remember this: fulfillment is not a place you reach, it is a presence you carry. Beloved chosen one, if these words have found a home in your heart, pause here for a moment. Feel what is happening inside you. This calm, this quiet strength. It is not simply inspiration, it is recognition. Something eternal within you is answering heaven's call. You have journeyed through every valley and mountain of this message. You have walked through pain, purification, revelation, and fulfillment. Now, as this story settles into your spirit, remember, this is not the end. This is the beginning of a new unfolding, your unfolding. If what you've read here has awakened something inside you, let your response become part of the movement. When you like this message, it is more than a gesture, it is a spark, a signal that you are part of a greater light. When you share, you allow another weary soul to find the same reminder that reached you, that they are chosen, not forgotten. Take a moment to subscribe, to stay connected to the stream of divine messages that flow like living water through this space. Each message is a reminder, each word a bridge from confusion to clarity, from survival to significance. And if you feel moved to comment, let your words carry truth. Your reflection, your I understand, your I am ready. Somewhere out there, someone will read your line and feel less alone. Your voice may be the echo of hope they've been praying to hear. This is how light travels, one message, one share, one heart at a time. Chosen one, you are not merely reading. You are participating in something sacred. Keep your flame burning. Keep your faith steady. And as always, remember, the story does not end here. It lives through you.